Hi, I'm Alex Barron with Digital Research, and I'm sitting next to the CEO and co-founder of Minbox, Alexander Mimran. Hi, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alexander Mimran, CEO and founder of Minbox here in San Francisco. And we are a next-generation Dropbox for businesses and enterprises.
So, Minbox, I understand, basically what you do. What is sort of your biggest differentiator? There's a number of competitors on the market. Like, how do you differentiate yourselves with other companies?
Yeah, sure. So we saw a change in the overall space where a ton of data is being migrated up into the cloud, into different services. So any one company might have docs in Google Docs, they might have files in Dropbox, they might have notes in Evernote, and we're trying to take all of that and bring it together into one platform. We see that as the future file system, and we're trying to build something similar to a Dropbox or box for that file system.
Okay.
And so we're providing a layer to bring everything together, and a whole user experience that we think is going to change how people work.
Okay, sounds good. So what does your typical customer look like? What are they trying to achieve?
Sure, so we have a range of customers. We're a horizontal tool, we're not focused on any specific vertical, but we do see certain customers gravitating towards us. A lot of agencies, worldwide digital agencies, marketing agencies, use Minbox to send files to their clients, but also to share files internally across teams. But we do have other customers all over the globe. Banks, for instance, one of the largest banks in India continues to use our software continually. We have different types of businesses, all in various geographies using Minbox for various reasons.
Okay, excellent. So is there one sort of customer or success story that you're particularly proud of and would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, we continue to see some great usage from really, really large companies, but also small ones. We're actually very focused on the small customer. We really want to, get it right before we can scale it to larger customers, and we do see some adoption happening there in companies like The Guardian, which is a newspaper and media company in the UK, Fox Media, which is obviously a massive company, and we have a small team using it there, Target, which some of their departments continue to use Minbox, and so on, we have a ton of brands that are using it, but we're actually just focused on sort of the smaller business, smaller agencies right now to try and get it right. So that's our strength for sure.
Okay. Now, take a company like Target, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When you get your product into Target,
Mm-hmm.
how are you approaching that? Are you approaching the company and trying to sell an enterprise deal, or is it typically one person at Target starts using it and then it spreads virally from there?
Right, so that's the beauty of freemium, of offering your product up for free so that people can try it and get to use it, and that leads to bottom-up distribution, and that's what we've been able to do. So because of that, we have tens of thousands of companies that continue to use our service, and some of them happen to be really large companies that we didn't have to spend a dime on in terms of sort of sales or outbound sales. So that's the strategy that we're adopting.
Okay, excellent. So it definitely sounds like people are adopting it themselves and then telling their coworkers and all that.
Exactly.
Now, the IT guys are probably freaking out though if people are using the services and then these confidential files are ending up in other places.
Sure.
How do you reassure those IT guys and make sure that everything's secure and all the up on that?
So we're working on that, but what's crazy is that happens anyway, and it happens with a lot of other services. So most companies have something like 13, I think the number's larger, it's like in the 40s or something, of services, cloud services, that people aren't authorized to use inside of an organization, but are doing so anyway. So I think over time we're going to get there where we are very secure. We're not only an alternative, but we're the key solution that company uses. And for now, we're just trying to sort of win out on speed and experience, design, and trying to provide value for whoever's sending a file.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, what is the setup process like if you're a new user to Minbox? Like, how quickly can you get going on that?
Instantly, yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah, right away.
Just download something and put some files in.
Right away, yeah, and that's what we're trying to improve as well. This onboarding experience that we built is a lot different than our competitors. It is seamless, it's beautiful, allows you to create your sort of company profile and your own profile, customize how you want to send and what you want to send, connect your clouds, and really kind of make it feel as though it was designed in 2015.
Okay. sure. Now, is that similar for the enterprise companies if they want to deploy it to 500 or 1,000 employees?
Yeah.
Is that still pretty much instant or?
Yeah, it's almost the exact same thing. And that's the beauty of what we built is that anyone can come on and they can invite their entire company and get their whole company working together on the same page right away. We're obviously working on that for much larger organizations. Likely they would want to reach out to us because they have different needs. But in terms of the experience and the flow, it's the same for everyone and it's seamless and frictionless.
Now let's change gears a little bit. So what were you doing before Minbox?
This is exactly how I would assume most companies get built is that there was a personal need. I was a graphic designer, and I was working with agencies and working with other people, and also saw some of my peers using these tools that weren't living up to the requirements that they had, and so we decided to build something that was not only fast and beautifully designed and created, but had a bunch of features that the competitors didn't have, and addressed the needs of the professionals that we were trying to go after.
Okay, excellent. It's a good story. So in the early days, it must have been extremely challenging getting started. Could you talk about what those challenges were in the early days and how you overcame those?
It's nuts. So when you're in a space like ours, it's almost impossible to get people to either see what you're doing and how it's different or believe in it. And so it was a struggle and continues to be to let people know that hey, we're actually changing the game here. These large billion-dollar companies are sort of slow-moving giants, if you will, and we're this fast-moving startup that's able to completely on a whim change how people should work on a day-to-day basis. And so we're continually improving the product and continually showing that we can actually, with a small team, make a huge difference by listening to the customer and by sort of changing the way that we approach these problems. Getting started was obviously a challenge and continues to be, but we're showing that through our product and through determination in such a big space that we can break through. And if we do, it's a very big opportunity.
Yeah, it's a huge market. Excellent.
Massive market, yeah.
Okay, so it definitely sounds like it's sort of your agility and
Totally.
Dropbox and Box, they move a little slow sometimes, so you're
That's
able
right.
to,
Yeah.
if a customer says, hey, we really need this special feature, you can implement it pretty quickly. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. We'll get feature requests for larger customers and in 2 days have the feature built. And that's almost impossible for these, right?
Yeah, they would never do that.
They can't do that. So they're getting big enough. They used to be this small kind of player, and now they're the large kind of lumbering incumbent. And with that comes sort of slower development processes and a larger user base to support different needs coming from sort of the CEOs and C-level people in the business or shareholders. Remember, we have very little of those constraints, and so we can attack very quickly, and hopefully we're sort of the next version of some of these larger companies.
Okay, perfect. Now, can you talk about what was it like getting your very first customer?
Yeah, man, it's amazing. So our first customer was someone who called us, who, and he's probably going to be watching this video, I imagine, before we were charging for it, and said, I want to pay you guys for this service.
Yeah, that's a dream come true.
So it was great, and he said, I want one seat now, but it's possible that we'll get the entire company onboarded in the future. So they have 60 people in their company, and that's kind of the strategy that we're adopting: is just get one person in the company loving it, using it, and eventually we have the opportunity for it to spread. So yeah, great moment, obviously, and it was I was taking the credit card information over the phone and writing it down, and then putting it into our system because we just didn't have any way of accepting payments. But now we do, obviously, so yeah, but it was cool.
Okay, good stuff. Now, prior to that first customer, I understand it was a totally free service.
Yeah.
So, what were the challenges of dealing with a free service and getting investors and also sort of maintaining confidence that you are building something that's correct even if you're not necessarily making money?
Yeah, I think here in the Valley, Silicon Valley, there's this amazing drive to create things that impact the entire planet. And the best way to do that is to make something free. I think there's probably some exceptions to that, but when you make something free, it has the widest opportunity to be adopted. And so starting out by making something free has both its benefits but also its drawbacks. And especially when you're dealing in a space where there's cost associated with every single user, we definitely at the beginning started to see some either abuse or usage that we didn't want and figured out ways to mitigate that. So we're continually improving our approach there, but we do think eventually that storage is going to be free, and it's going to be free. So we're not trying, to sort of fight that. We're trying to sort of wrestle the beast until finally, it gets to zero.
Okay, so I think that's an interesting point. Storage is getting cheaper and cheaper, and you have to moving towards that free point.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's really what kind of value you can add on top of that. And that's where your integrations come in, and any other aspects that you feel really sort of add value on top of that storage.
Yes. So I mean, the whole flow, the user flow, taking a file and being able to grab a link instantly, creating data rooms. We have these things that are called projects. They're essentially like data rooms that have fine-grained permissions that allow our users to customize them, add custom branding, make these beautiful workspaces that they can invite their clients to, invite their teammates to. We have real-time activity so that you can actually see exactly what's going on across your organization or within a narrow part of the application, and then dive in deeper to say, someone did this here, someone did that there. So there's a bunch of different kind of components that we're working on that we think are essential to making this a sort of successful experience for a bunch of different use cases. And I think some of our competitors are doing something similar, but not, I think, at the level that we're doing it at.
Okay, sure. Now, those features, are they available in just enterprise packages, or are those available
to everybody?
Every client. Okay, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, changing gears, so you've had some good success as a startup founder. Do you have advice for other startup founders out there?
Man, yeah, all kinds of advice. Anything specifically? I mean,
what's the one that jumped into your mind immediately, if anything, or was it just a million things?
No, it was good. No. So I think the thing that this is obvious though, and I'm sure everyone's heard this, but it's good to sort of refocus again, is find out who your customer is and get them to pay you out of the gate.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, then at least eventually there is some kind of opportunity for monetization. If you're not building this type of service where you'll be monetized, if you're building a consumer service, then different rules apply. In our case, because it's B2B and we're SaaS, it's finding that customer on day one. And like if you have a customer calling you and wanting to pay, that's a really good sign. So I would say that that's something that people who are building something in our space should very much focus on. In terms of consumer, there's what's the word I'm looking for? Similarities in some of the metrics that consumer apps should follow, and that's usually on the basis of retention. So that's a sort of corollary to revenue. So if you can see sort of strong retention in consumer apps, then that's something that's similar you can look for. But day one, try and get the money.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like business, B2B companies that focus on revenue from day one.
Totally.
Consumer is 100% retention, because that'll eventually lead to revenue.
Yeah, this is a problem. It's a deep topic. Maybe I should have had something a little more concise to say. But you always want to focus on also larger markets, and you want to focus on spaces where you have an edge against the competition. Timing is really important. There's all these things that are super important. But I'd say if you're building something to make money, then try and see if you can make money on day one.
Okay, fair enough. So what's next for Minbox?
Trying to take over the world.
Okay, that's a good goal.
We're working towards really trying to make our customers happy. I think that's kind of the bottom line. Is, are we doing a good job? And if we are, what's amazing is that we're doing it in a space that's highly, highly competitive. So we continually ask our customers, why are you using us instead of Box or Dropbox? And what are the reasons for sticking around, and what can we do to make it better? And I think that's true for anything that anyone does. But for us, it's sort of one customer at a time, but eventually growing beyond that.
Okay, I have one more question, but before I get to that, I want to really dive into, so when your customers tell you why they use you guys over Dropbox or Box, what are those primary reasons?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to experience. I mean, people say the interface is a huge, huge draw. The fact that we're unlimited, we make it unlimited for you to, you can upload files of any size, and we're faster than Dropbox. actually. I think a lot of services are, but we're actually 3 times faster than Dropbox. So there's all these different kind of components that people do really kind of enjoy. And then also when sending externally, that's a huge one. So, a lot of organizations are sending files outside of their company, and they need something that is outside of their sort of internal Dropbox. So they can take a file and they can drop it in, or they can link to a file or folder from another service and then very seamlessly and easily share it via Minbox. And it doesn't at all impact the security of their other data. So I think that's a long answer, but
Thank you very much, Alexander.
yeah,
Best of luck.
thanks. Okay.
Take care.